Hi, I'm Beck, of course, because this is my blog. And the only person who should be watching this is my tutor, so if you don't know my name after 13 weeks of teaching me, that would be quite disappointing. Anyway, so this week we did our game presentations in class. Sort of a couple of weeks ago we made games about university. So my original game was a carpooling game where students had to pick up carpoolers on their way around a board to get free parking, and that was the aim of the game. And I combined that with one of my classmates, Amy Joyce, and her game was a university take on the classic Monopoly. So you know, there's like all the different types of Monopoly. She did university. So what we basically did was we just combined those two games to sort of have a more fully fleshed out game, because we both really liked each other's games. We wanted to sort of build on both of those ideas. But there are a few things we need to fix up with it after getting some feedback from the class. Mostly we need to individualize it. So at the moment we're kind of worried that it's far too similar to classic Monopoly, which would be disappointing. And in order to do that, we're thinking of changing the board shape and structure. Basically, Chris, our tutor, said that he's very against rectangular board structures. There's a lot of room in the middle that's left with nothing. It can get kind of boring, and with so many shapes we should play around with them. So that's what we're going to be looking at this week. We had a few ideas about getting a tile-like board, such as in Settlers of Catan, or possibly a circular board, or that could be difficult with pack-up and having just like a very functional board, because especially if it does end up being tiled, we can't do circular because it obviously has to be correlating shapes. So that's what we've been thinking about this week. We have also been thinking about perhaps having sections that come off the board to sort of expand the place, or maybe we'll save that for if we do expansion packs. Other things we need to think about are our money system. So originally I had thought that we would use paper money like in classic Monopoly, and that our players would just use it in the same sense. But we know from experience that paper money is extremely fiddly, and also we wanted to have a sort of really good representation of the students' debt and how that was gonna manifest in the game. So a couple of ideas we had were having like literal weights, so you have different weights equaling different monetary amounts, and then that would be a sort of really symbolic way of expressing a student's debt. Another way we thought of was possibly having a slider, so students could slide the amount of debt they had up to a certain point, but that was an issue because then we thought, well, if students are getting money and they don't necessarily want to spend that money on paying off their debt, if they want to buy property or something else like you would in classic Monopoly, then we don't really have a way of expressing that outside of if we just use the debt system like that. That's something we're going to have to think about if we want this game to sort of function correctly. We'll also have to think of what different things students could be buying or selling in the game. So currently we had students going around renting properties, as students do, and those properties would then have couch surfing fees for other players when they land on them, and students would gain money back in that way, sort of in the, once again, classic Monopoly style. And then we also had students gaining money from free parking. So in classic Monopoly you have the large square diagonally across from Go as the free parking square, which is where all the taxes and all the government sort of payment goes in the middle, and then whoever lands on that square gets that money. So in our version we had whoever lands on the free parking square pays off half their debt as long as they have those 3 other passengers for their car, which they'd have to collect around the board at different parking lots. But we were also thinking, rather than just buying property, students have to buy a lot of other things as well, and we should incorporate that into the game. Like, should there be living costs, such as how are they going to buy their groceries, how are they going to buy their textbooks, stuff like that. So we were looking at adding those in as well, and then possibly expanding on that idea by having students get part-time jobs, so they're not just getting all their money from the Centrelink Square, although some of them do just get all their money from Centrelink. So I'm pretty excited to get working on it all and sort of get stuff up and running. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out in the end, because I think there are a lot of things we have to change, and I'm really worried about amounts because we haven't really done the maths behind the board game, so we don't really know if the amounts we have on there are suitable. So we'll have to do a play test as well. Amy, my partner, did a play test with our draft board, so I'll include that at the end of this video if I can work it out. Thank you.